Hi, everybody. I'm Hector. Thank you for having me here. I was doing a rehearsal yesterday, and just speaking in front of this amazing venue makes me feel so small. I'm a very short person, so it should make me even shorter. So anyway, I'm super humbled to be with all of you here today. I'm the last one, so let's have some fun. Before I start, I want to introduce you to an expert. She's an expert in AI, deep learning, that we're trying to do at Google. She's an expert, and she's only 4 years old. She recently learned how to speak. Her name is Hector Ouillet, and she's also my daughter. And my clicker is not working. Wait, there we go. That she is. She's Hector Ouillet. So I want to talk about today how we can find inspiration in people like her in order to evolve our design thinking towards technology, in order to design a better future. So let's start with a better clicker. All right, there we go. The first piece that we need to understand is why talking is easy, why having conversations is so natural for all of us. So let's go back in time. Let's go back in time to understand this. So, okay, that's a little bit too much back in time, a little bit forward. So, guess what? We always been talking to each other. We always been having conversations. Conversations is how we gain and how we transmit new knowledge. In a conversation, each participant, let's say A and B, are learning systems, meaning that they change internally as a consequence of the experience. Conversations are how we interface with each other. So let me put it in perspective. Let's think about the following metaphor. If speech has been around for 24 hours in a whole existence as a species, writing has been around for only 8 minutes. So 24 hours to 8 minutes. That's why conversations feel so natural, because we're just made this way. Conversations are really handy because they're universal. We can talk to one person, 2, 3, or to a group of people. Granted, we have this notion of languages, but one of the key fundamental aspects of a conversation is that meaning arises as part of the conversation. Meaning is negotiated all the time. I used to live in Japan many years ago, and my Japanese is terrible, almost non-existent, and I was able to have a conversation. And I had a really good time. So now let's understand why do we have to, or why do we start adapting to technology? Well, one of the drawbacks of spoken conversations is that they go away. Two of the fundamental properties of the audio medium is, one, that it's linear. Linear means that you are trapped in the medium. Let me give you an example. If you want to hear me count to 3 in one increment, you will have to hear me say 1, and then 2, and then 3. You cannot fast forward from 1 to 3 because it's a linear medium. The other interesting property about this is that it's ephemeral. It goes away. So let's go back in time, and we were just hanging out, having a really good time, you know. So you know what we are as a species? Explorers. We're explorers. We always want to do more. We always want to scale. So writing was invented so we can say more things to more people that were further away from us. So we wanted to do some trading with people that we couldn't see. So that's why we invented writing. We wanted writing for us to capture information and to scale. Unlike spoken conversations, the visual medium has two very important properties. One is permanent. The thing that people wrote won't go away, it stays. And the other one that is super interesting is it's non-linear. So the people trading stuff back then, they can jump from the trading chicken section to the trading beer section. And it's really tempting to claim the development of writing was because to keep track of beer. I thought that was true. Unfortunately, it's not entirely true, but I thought it was a very important point for me to make here today. Anyway, so we started writing many things. We started generating information. As time passed, we invented more and more things that had different interfaces to translate what was in our head into these objects. Over time, machines started evolving and becoming bigger, more complex. On one side, it was really good because it allowed us to scale the amount of information that we could produce or we could store. On the other side, it was very difficult for regular people to have access to technology because it was either too complicated or too expensive or too big. We used to have computers the size of this auditorium. Actually, I think the first ones were even bigger. And they had really difficult interfaces. And it's not that back then we just wanted to make horrible interfaces. It's just technology brought a bunch of constraints. Bob Taylor, the manager of the Xerox PARC, once said, "Computers are for people. Computers are personal." And it's just fascinating to think that the GUI, the graphical user interface, was created in a place that was basing their business model on paper. They were thinking about the future of the paperless office, and boom, they stumbled into this concept of the GUI, which GUI is one of the fundamental ways we interact with computing today. Anyway, so computers are becoming smaller, faster, and cheaper. And this is a trend that I've been hearing also today. I heard yesterday in many of the talks. Yesterday talk that was talking about even satellites, going from this size to actually tiny satellites. And it's an amazing trend that is happening across all of the industries. So computers went from a room to an office to actually people's houses. As technology became more accessible by more people, guess what? Information is starting to scale and to grow. At the beginning of the time, the amount of information on the internet was not much. Yes, there was a lot, but the way we used it to organize this information was very simple. We used a thing called portals. I don't know how many of you have heard of a portal. Maybe I'm just dating myself. But portals were very simple. They worked like, imagine a closet in your hotel or in your living room. You have drawers, and you put your underwear, your shoes, your ties, if you ever wear one. And whenever you want a type of that thing, you go to that drawer, open it, and find it. And it's cool, because it's very simple, and it works every time. Now imagine the following question. Imagine your closet is the size of 10 Amazon warehouses. Enormous. And you have drawers in all of these warehouses. Finding and accessing information through portals was not really scalable. This allows us to an opportunity to create what we call search. Search is a fundamental shift in the way we access information at scale. Unlike portals, you put something in a magic search box and return something back. Very, very simple. It works fantastic. Anyway, following the same trend I talked a little bit about, phones came up. Phones started being very big. They started becoming smaller, faster, and cheaper. Although the lately devices are becoming really big again, I don't know why. But anyway, so is this trend that we're seeing, smaller, faster, and cheaper? So we step back, and we see all these different ways we've been interacting with technology. They share one property. They are predictable. In all of these instances, we people have adapted. We people have learned how to use them, and technology always stays the same. To say in another way, imagine we have a very simple chart. In one axis, we have time. In the other axis, we have experience. So if I use any of these modalities 5 times, it will give me 1 experience. If I use it 20 times, it will give me the same experience. I don't know if you can identify with this problem here, which my friend calls the human computer printer dilemma, in where there's usually in someone's office or house somebody looking at the printer/copy machine with an idea like, how the hell am I gonna do this? I'm one of those people. Technology has become so powerful. We have an amazing set of features and possibilities in front of us, but it's really, really hard for us to tell it what we want it to do. Alan Cooper coined this phrase in his latest Medium post that I will read because I think it really summarizes the point that I'm trying to make. The biggest conundrum in technology is that it's harder to tell a computer to do something than it is for a computer to do it. Computers are fantastic about making things faster, better, executing very complex tasks, but they are terrible about understanding our intentions. They're really hard. They're just not good at it. So that brings me to my last point, which is how we can start making technology adapting to us. Back to our friend in front of the copier machine, let's see it from a different angle. Say, I come to this copy machine and say, hey, can you make this smaller and send it to my boss? Or can you make 10 passport-size photos? Imagine the third one you come in front of it and tells you, hey, what's going on? The usual? No, I just want to scan my tax document and send it to my accountant. In this case, the chart will look more like this, in where after some time, the experience starts getting fundamentally better. So, if we start talking about the future, where we're heading, we're going to see exactly the same trend we've been seeing so far. We're going to have better clickers, but we're going to have technology is going to continue to become faster, smaller, and cheaper. This is going to see it, and what will happen is we're going to have having smart everywhere. It's going to be very easy for manufacturers to embed smart something into whatever they produce. So we're going to have smart refrigerators, smart headphones, smart speakers, cars, light bulbs, doors, windows. That's going to happen. What's also going to happen is, well, we're going to have a lot of people, because guess what? We're not going anywhere. So we're going to still be there, so that's good news. If we compare this future where we're heading to what we have today, it's actually most of us that work on the tech industry, when we design for solutions or applications, it's usually on a one-to-one relationship, because we usually consider this device as our primary device, which is a fantastic, super fast, and amazing piece of technology. I am the primary owner, I am the primary user of this device. And usually this applies to all the other examples you see here. In this future where we're heading, that probably will not be the case. We're going to have a ton of people using a ton of devices at the same time, in where the owner of the device probably won't be the primary user of the device, in where two people will be using one or two or three devices at the same time. So this is where we're heading. And let's just take a moment to understand how we're going to interact with all these things. I don't think it's going to be that fun to go and touch each of them. It's going to be really hard. I do believe we need to start looking back on what we do good, which is having conversations with each other. There we go. The reason we're able to do this is because when we have conversations, we always adapt our mental model. We always adapt when we are having a conversation. We evolve our expectations as we have conversations. Every time we have a conversation, we learn so many things beyond the message that is transmitted. For instance, several minutes into this talk, all of you here have gained a lot of information about me. The way I dress, the way I move around this stage, the way I mispronounce English, the way I cannot use the clicker. All of this is creating a mental model about me in your head. It's also influenced by other people that you've met throughout your lives that are like me. Other designers, other people that talk in a handy way about the future, etc. We are creating a shared frame of reference that will enable our future conversations. And this frame of reference, expectations will be changing, will be moving. And a great example of how expectations move is the way I communicate with Ana Julia, which you met at the beginning. I asked her to do certain things like, hey, Julia, can you help me set up the table for dinner? Initially, she doesn't understand the whole intention. But what she does is something fascinating. She breaks down the entire message into smaller pieces, and she starts building upon the concepts that she understands, like table. And then I try it again, and again, and again. Both her successes and her failures help both of us adapt, help us elevate and change that frame of reference. It's a fun and a fantastic and sometimes a painful model, as many of you with kids will know. Remember this chart? Every single interaction that I have had with my daughter in the past years have gotten better, and I hope it gets fundamentally better. I don't know if this is going to apply when she becomes a teenager, but that's a different talk. So, in recap, if we just apply how we have conversations with each other to the future that we're heading, we're going to be okay? Well, I do believe we do. But having conversations are very simple for us, but for machines, for technology, are not. So we need to watch out for a few things. The first one, which I think is one of the hardest ones, is this notion of this mental model. I am also constrained by what other human beings can do. So it's not that you're suddenly going to ask me, hey, Hector, can you go up to the top of the moon and bring me something? Because that's what humans don't do, right? So in this future, what's going to happen is the way the devices look will not longer mean what the devices can do. Devices will start doing way more when they actually see in front of you. So we will have situations where we will be able to call our moms from our washing machine. We will be able to order toilet paper from watching the TV. So we're going to have a really set of crazy situations that won't be that easy to manage. The other problem will be is, if you don't really know what this thing in front of you is able to do for you, how are you going to discover the new things they're supposed to do for you? When you go to a new restaurant, any of you, what happens is they give you a menu. A menu is a fundamental tool that helps you constrain the possibilities of what you can order. Many of these devices, because of their nature or because of their size, we will have no screen. So knowing what you can ask is going to be really hard. Another one is going to be hard is this notion of ambiguity. Let's say, what if I say, turn off this light, or turn yourself off? Which one? It's going to be really hard. Ambiguity happens when we don't have enough information to make a decision. So let's put things back into perspective. If speech has been around for 24 hours and writing for 8 minutes, conversational interfaces and assistance is probably around 1 millisecond. It's really, really early days. But I do believe it is the start of an amazing journey, a journey in where technology will start adapting to us. So what are those things that as designers, as entrepreneurs, as creators, we need to think? Well, the first one is this notion of mental model, frame of reference that I've been talking about. As designers, as engineers, we rely on the persona to deliver the experience. Persona is this artifact, is this concept that will help us set the right expectations between people and machines. Persona will bring the unfamiliar into familiar. I will be that glue that will tie the experience together across space and time. We need to start thinking how we create applications, platforms, or services that are able to ask questions. If you think about it today, most of the apps that we use, they give you immediately an answer. We need to start designing, we need to start accounting into how this thing is going to start asking you questions. So then every interaction is a learning opportunity, just like I have it with my daughter. We also have to think about this notion of awareness. How do we going to mimic or translate this concept of awareness that make us so good at being humans? If any of you find somebody else on the street that you previously met, you're going to use the previous knowledge to craft the dialogue with that person. How we can use things like the device location, the speed of the device moving, what other devices are around it, the time of the day, the time of the day of the week, the weather, etc. What are all those signals we can use in order to deliver and craft the right experience? Most of us that work on tech, whenever we make something better, what we do is we add a feature. We add a feature to our app, a feature to our product. We need to start thinking one level up about this notion of a feature. We have to think about how somebody's life manifests across time and space. When somebody wakes up in the morning, goes for a run, has coffee, takes a shower, takes a taxi, and come to this conference. Where are all those different touch points that somebody had in their day or in their week or in their month? How can whatever you're designing, whatever you're creating is going to be delivered through all those different devices? So we need to start to thinking about the user journey to deliver our experiences. Let's take a moment to understand, or just to imagine, what are those possibilities? What are those possibilities when accessing technology is so simple as just talking with each other? What are the possibilities when Ana Julia or the future generations interact with technology in their own terms, when they don't need to constantly be adapting in order to manage scale, in order to access information that they want? I believe that artificial intelligence and deep learning is going to help us tremendously. Where you're looking in a video here is me trying to draw you a dinosaur. I'm really terrible about running dinosaurs, and I'm really terrible drawing dinosaurs on a trackpad. I'm really bad at it. But guess what? With artificial intelligence, it was able to understand that I was trying to draw you a dinosaur and actually recommend a much better dinosaur that actually I used at the beginning of the talk. The way I communicated with technology here is the way I communicate with Ana Julia. We have this game that I draw her a bunch of Post-its and she gets the animal. Computer just did that. Imagine the alternative. I will search for, I need a drawing of a dinosaur with a 35 degrees head looking this way, black and white, with a background that looks hand-drawn. That's like a mouthful of things, and that's a just totally difficult translation of my intention to computers. But imagine you just draw. Imagine you just speak. We're making tremendous advances in vision, in natural language understanding. I do believe we're going to start turning a corner in what Alan Cooper said, in where soon telling computers, telling technology what we want is going to be easier. And actually, this point is super funny, because if you apply it to people, it's very easy to tell people what you want them to do, but they never do that. I struggle this with my daughter all the time. So anyway, to recap, I spoke about why conversations are so easy for us, because we've been doing it for so long. My second point is, well, we adapted to technology because we have this notion of scale. We wanted to capture and store information. The other point I made was the future that we're heading. We're going to have these connected devices all over the place. And why it's fundamental to start looking into how we talk to each other, because guess what? It's very easy for us to talk in order to start making technology adapt to us and not the other way around. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Hector.
Sure.
Now we have very little time to answer one more question, and I'm going to pull up the top one right now, which is Google implemented typing back to the Hey Google Assistant. Why?
Well, because actually it was said in the previous talk. Right now it's really difficult to talk to machines. It's very difficult to talk to technology. And right now we need to try as many ways as possible to see which one is best. I do believe there's different use cases for different situations, and sometimes typing is better than speaking. And typing doesn't mean you have to do like one letter at a time. We can be smart and we can suggest possibilities when you understand what you're trying to achieve. So it's pretty much us trying to see how we can make the experience better.
Thank you so much.